Hello everyone, my name is Yuri Kasdorp from Mouse, and we're here with week 3 of the GT Sprint series, and we are at my favorite track to race, a lot of people's favorite track to race, the 24-hour Circus of Le Mans. Amazing track for the GT3 cars, big grids, should be a lot of fun, but also there's a lot of places where we need to make use of the limits that iRacing gave us. And without those limits, there's a lot of time to be gained. So to get small edge in the competition, get you those extra couple positions, we'll go over those in details in the guide, and let's get over them. Alright, so here we are at the end of the lap, about to start the lap. Full fuel as usual, tires might be a bit cold. And about to start what I think is the best track to race on iRacing. Because there's lots of slowdowns. They changed a bit how the slowdowns are, so if you hated it before, might be a bit better now. Turn 1, I want to get to the outside to make sure we open up the braking for turn 2 all the way on the right side. We get slowly to the right side here. Keep the speed up. Keep that rear and check over the crest here as well. Small tap on the brakes and try to maximize that speed on the exit. Onto the back straight. We want to keep the car in the middle with all the GT cars. So you have the white line, you want to keep that in the middle of the car. You'll get a bit of extra top speed that adds up over these long straights. Left hand side. Don't brake too late here. Open up the right hander. Again to set up for a good exit. And it looks like we're going very wide everywhere. But you know exactly where those limits are. We can use all of this track. Same for the second chicane. You want to brake at about 100 and then open up all the corners to maximize that speed on the exit. And as you can see, we can run really wide as long as we know where the slowdowns are. And really kind of abuse those track limits and the liberties given to us. Open up Milsan corner. You want to brake as much in the straight line as you can. Again, try to get a good exit. Good run out of here. Bring it to the middle of the road. Got to run up to Indy next. Middle of the road. Open up the corner. Don't run too wide on the exit. Open up a notch. And how to take the entry curb can be tricky there, so we'll definitely have a closer look on the outboard cam coming up right after this. I like to keep it tight here, so don't run all the way to the middle of the track. Open up the Porsche curves. Porsche curves, again, very specific. You want to hug the inside here. Open up the left-hander and use the grass on the left-hand side. Rear always a bit loose here, because we trim that rear wing as low as we can. Open up the last chicanes. I just set up for a good exit again. That's the lap around Le Mans. Right, so here we are from the output cam, and we're gonna have a look exactly where to abuse those track limits to gain a bit of speed and gain an edge over the competition. So turn 1, you want to run all the way to the gravel here to open up mainly the braking for turn 2. You want to bring it to the inside, and as you can see, I'm lifting a bit here. It doesn't matter if you go fully flat or lifting a bit. It's much more important to make sure your car's lined up for the right side here. And there's a slowdown at the apex here if you're all the way to the grass. So you don't want to be all the way to the grass at the apex. But after you did the corner, you want to start braking as much in the straight line as you can. And you want to run all the way to the grass. So like you're seeing here, perfectly legal, no slowdown, no off track. And then we want to aim for the gravel on the inside of the left-hander here. So we want to aim for the gravel on the inside of the left-hander, and we want to make sure we don't overshoot the corner. So it's very easy here, when you're at the apex, to start going wide, and then you have to completely slow the car down to make sure you stay inside track limits for the next right-hander. You want to sacrifice the left-hander a bit for a good exit. Then on the right-hander, there's not a nice point to look at, like on the gravel on the first left-hander, where the slowdown is. You want to make sure that the left side is on the white line, but there's not a good visual lookout, so it's quite tricky to see where that is, and I can't give you an exact point where I look at it. For the exit though, you want to make sure that the middle of the car is on the right side of these two bullets. And if you look at the bullets as well, the left one, or the first one, is a lot tighter than the right one. Which means that if you have a nice line, you don't go too deep here initially, you sacrifice the left hand a bit, you can go wide, and you can use that to go wider from the first to the second cone. And then you can stay with the left side on the left until you hit the curb here. Just want to hug the inside on a downhill. Again, we don't have to go completely flat. It's much more important that you hit the right braking point, the right line into the next left-hander. You can see as well what I'm doing here. I lift a bit before the braking even, just to make sure my car's lined up properly. And you'll see me do that a couple times as well around this lap. A small lift before the braking doesn't slow you down anything, pretty much. And you just set up for a better braking for the corner. Keep it tight. You want to follow the curb here along the inside as much that you can take this one flat. Small tap on the brake for Tête Rouge, and Tête Rouge you want to make sure again the left side tires are hitting the white line. There's not really a reference on the inside. On the outside there's a nice reference that your right side tires need to be on the right side of this point here by the time the curb ends. The exact point I think is the middle of the car in this drain point, but I think it's easier to look at, for me at least, that my tires need to be touching off the curb by the time the curb ends. That means before this you can go as wide as you want. We can't really use that though, because if you want to run all the way here you have to just turn much tighter again. But you can use it when you're understeering. You can use all of this runoff until this point here. Then again, we just run on the middle, the crown of the road. We go a tiny bit faster, and then we get to the first chicane. Very late, we want to bring the car over to the left side. Want to make sure the car is straight. I don't like going all the way to the left side here, close to the grass. You can do it, but it's quite bumpy. As you can see as well, small lift before the braking just to get the car settled. You don't have to do it, but it just makes it a bit easier. I like doing it. Want to brake, and then this cone here is going to be the point where you want to have turned in before, and then you want to get to the apex. What it looks like here is you want to turn in close to the cone or even slightly tap the cone. If you're not turning in by the time you hit the cone, you've missed. The chicanes here, you want the left side tires close to the curb without touching it. If the left side tires touch the curb, you get a slowdown. That's a good reference to have. And the same on the left-hander here. Want to set up for a nice exit. So you want to make sure, again, that you don't go too deep here. You want to turn before you get to the curb here. So the car has a nice angle over it. Speed up. And then you can get close to this wall here. And the slowdown here is in the middle where this curb is. The middle of the car needs to be on the left side. So somewhere around here. The point's quite hard to get a visual reference of. However, we can just assume to run wide here, now run in a straight line of the curb to avoid the apex. So from here, as you can see, I've got my steering wheel straight. We just run a straight line of the curve, and then we easily avoid that slowdown. Second straight, again, we do the same as the first one. Then we get to second chicane. I like to brake close to the grass here. Again, get the car settled. The cone is the same as in the first chicane. Slightly tap it, but you want to turn in quite a bit before that. And on the second chicane, the edges of the curbs here are a bit bigger than the first one. The first one, they're a bit flatter. So if you hit this first one, the car gets a bit more upset. Right side tire is not hitting the curb. On the left side, same on the right side, same principles apply. You want to turn before you hit the second curb here on the right side. And then wide again on the exit. And on the exit here, it's a bit easier to get a visual reference. We go from the cockpit. As you can see, the curb is quite low here and goes up a bit here and then goes low again. And what I like to use is my right side tires go off the curb here, left side tires off the curb here. And if I do that, I avoid the slowdown. The slowdown is around here with the middle of the car. So from the outside, just run it over like this. Right side tires to the right, left side tires this time clipped a bit too much, which upset the car a bit. Normally I want to have a slightly better angle from here to hit that with the left side tires. And then you can run all the way to the grass on the exit. So let's have a look at the second chicane at our braking inputs. So we can look here. Second chicane, we zoom in, we just click and hold like this in the Delta app. And then we can see exactly. So we got here, we go for the braking. We slowly build it to braking so you don't have to stamp on it in the GT3 cars. Slowly reduce it, and as you can see, I start turning, and the more I start turning for the left-hander, the more I need to come off the brakes, And then the second part, this step on the brake here is the most important. So I do this, as you can see, right on the direction change where my wheel's in the center. I tap the brake, which makes the weight of the car go to the nose of the car. So right as I'm changing the direction, the weight will be on the nose of the car. That means when I'm starting to turn in here, the weight will be on the nose of the car and the car will go where I point it to go. And then towards the exit, we can start building up the speed again. And we're already flat out when we're still in the right-hander. And then, as you can see, over the curb here, we can just hold flat, and try to set up for that good exit. The next straight, up to Mulsanne. We go to the left side here, again close to the cone. We don't need to hit this curb on the apex here, because if we would hit that, our line is like straight to this cone here. And by the time we arrive here, our car will be pointing towards here. And what I'm aiming for from the outside line is also breaking a straight line from here, but my car, instead of pointing here, it will be pointing here. That means that I don't have to take as much of the corner anymore by missing this curb on the inside here. So again, we want to brake as much as we can in a straight line towards this cone. Left side tires on the left side of the white line. Again, don't hit the cone. And then we go to the inside. You want to aim to be close to these green bullets here. That way you're close to the limit without getting the slowdown. And on exit, we want to be close to the gravel. Even clipping it a bit will not give us a slowdown. It will just slow us down a tiny bit. The back straight back to Indy. And Indy is a very tricky corner. Depending on the amount of wing you run here, it can be quite tricky when the car bottoms out, especially goes back up again, because the front is loaded before the rear is. So the rear can be a bit unstable. On the entry, we want to have half of the car on the right side of this line here, so 2 tires can be slightly on the green here, but not too much. Otherwise, it won't be a slowdown, it will be an off-track. And what I like to do is keep the car neutral when the car hits this hole on the inside here. So just keep the car neutral. No inputs here. Either small brake or small throttle is fine too, but too many big inputs will upset the car and either give you a snap on the rear or massive understeer. I want to brake, and I want to aim that by the end of braking, I'm close to this curb. We don't have to be on it, but we at least want to be close. If you're braking later, it's hard to get to the right side. You end up on the inside, you sacrifice too much of the next corner. And careful for the off-track on the right side here. It's in the middle of the car. Can't go over this edge of the curb. And then we get to tricky braking for Anash. At least if you brake from the outside, it can be tricky. If you brake with the left side tires here, it's a lot easier. You can brake a bit later, but your line into Anash will be a bit compromised. So the way we brake from the outside here, get close to the grass here, brake quite a bit before the 50. And then you need to make sure that by the time you go over the curb here, you want to reduce the brake pressure. So by the time we hit the curb here, you want to have the right side tires on the right side, left side tires on the left side. And when we go over the curb, you want to reduce the brake pressure. If still braking a lot over the curb, the car will just go straight. It will go into ABS and you'll miss the apex here. So you want to reduce that quite a bit going over it. And then the inside curb here helps to rotate the car as well. And on the exit, we just have to avoid the wall to avoid the off-track. Last straight, last moves to be made. Always tricky on the last lap here. What I would recommend here is the outside line on the last lap, because if you can manage to hold it around the outside, it's very, very, very difficult for the car that has the inside for the right hander to keep the left, keep the outside for the next 2 left-handers. On your quali lap or your laps alone, left 2 tires again touching the green. You want to have the middle of the car on the right side of the green here. Small tap on the brake, and you want to make sure that by the time the curb starts on the inside, you follow that, and you follow the curb, and by the time it ends, you can run wide again. You don't want to run all the way to the left side because it compromises your entry too much for the left-hander. And then left-hander, we want to use the grass on the inside. You can use a lot of the grass. The more grass you take, the more unstable the car gets, the more rotation you do get in the car as well. The right side tires can be all the way to the curb without getting the off track here, so we want to use that. And we want to use that not just to get a better line through the corner, but also the grass has a bit more friction than the tarmac does. So what happens is the car gets pulled to the inside, which is exactly what we want here to get the car pulled through the corner. You can be on throttle, tiny lift, or if you find the perfect line, depending on, again, how much downforce you run, this could be flat. Small lift here just makes the car a bit more stable. Want to exit to the middle of the curb here, and then again, small inputs here. You can clip the inside grass before the curb, but if you run to the left side of the curb here, you will get an off track. And then you want to hug the inside, at least by the time the curb starts. You don't want to run too wide here. And keep hugging the inside. Small tap on the brake. And aim that you hit the curb on the inside here. You can either run on the left side here on over the anti-cuts. They're very flat. To open up the corner if you hit a nice line. And on the exit here, it's similar to Teche Rouge, so similar to where we first entered the back straight. You want to have the middle of the car, or at least the left side of the car, on the curb here by the time this curb ends. You can run wide before then, but you want to have the left side of the car on the left side, and then afterwards we can run wide, like you see here on the right side of the white line. And then you're almost at the lap. Qualifying, you almost finished it, but very sneaky last chicane, or 2 last chicanes are coming up that always try to give you another slowdown or make you lose a lot of time by missing the line. You can open the corner up by going onto the pit entry bit, having your car point towards the first apex already. And then you want to have the right side tires as close to the curb as you can. And then we want the same on the right-hander, left side tires as close to the curb as you can. And for the right-hander, you want to make sure that you brake a bit in between to make sure that you exit not all the way to the left side here. We don't have much time to set up the car again for the next chicane, and it's very important to set up the chicane that you're entering from the right side of the track. So not all the way to the left side, as far to the right side as you can to open up the chicane. And then again, right side tires need to avoid the curb on the left-hander, and the right-hander is almost a free-for-all. It's very, very difficult to get the off-track here, or the slowdown even, but if you try to cut it too much, you'll start beaching out and bottoming out on this big anti-cut on the right-hand side. So what you want to do is come from the middle here, turn before you hit the curb, so that the car is quite straight when you go over the curb. As you can see, my left side tires are all the way on the curb as well. Won't be off track or slowdown. But because we turned a bit before we hit the curb, we can take it nicely and set up for a nice exit. And that's why entering the chicane, the last chicane, is so important from the right hand side. Because if you enter from more of the middle of the track, it's very tricky to have the car already turning before you hit the curb. And when your car's not turning before you hit the curb, you'll bounce towards the outside here and either compromise your exit a lot or end up in the gravel. That way we carry a lot of speed onto the next lap and finish it up around Le Mans. Alright, so there we go. Another track guide done. Very nice one, this one, I think. A lot of places, as you can see, where it's quite tricky or maybe not straightforward where to place the car, where the limits are. But once you nail the tricks we went over in the video, the track is amazing to drive, has amazing flow. I really like the implementation they have of the track limits here once you get used to them. So, hope everyone learned something. Hope you got a bit of an edge over the competition. Good luck in your races this week. Would definitely recommend doing some, especially because the slowdowns got an update this season as well. So if those frustrated you before, it should be a bit better this time. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys next week.